was 8 or 9 years ago when a retailer contacted me saying they were not happy with the software that they were using, that our software that we'd provided them. They said that there were bugs in it and causing all sorts of trouble. And it kind of sounded a bit weird to me. So I had one of our technical people look at it. And very quickly, we uncovered evidence that the business was being stolen from. Um, Irrefutable evidence, actually, because we were very clear that it was happening on certain days and within certain timeframes. And we had evidence of probably at that stage around $250,000 in theft. Sounds like a lot, sounds almost unbelievable, I know, but it's true. Um, the retailer didn't believe it. A relative of theirs was running the business. They would never steal from them, of course. Um, and so we had probably another 6 months of back and forth on it, and their frustration with the software and disappointment that the software was problematic for them. Um, and things blew up as probably about 6 months later. And we had another look at the data, and by then another $75,000 to $80,000 of money had been taken from the business. And so they weren't local to me, so I flew to meet them, sat down and showed them the reports. And I was very specific. I said, this is when they're working. So 2 weeks ago, this is exactly when they worked. Here's the time frame, the various days. They weren't working 5 days a week. And we talked for probably about 90 minutes, and I wasn't going anywhere because they were claiming there was a problem with the software. There was no problem with the software. But because they'd given this employee full access to everything, they had the most secure password. They could do any manipulation that they wanted, and the employee didn't know that that data was being captured elsewhere. There was a second copy. So what they thought they were cleaning up, the theft they thought they were cleaning up, was being laid bare in this other data. But because they were a relative, the retailer didn't want to act the way we suggest. My advice was bring in the police straight away and let them deal with it, because by that stage, we were well into $300,000 worth of theft. It was a serious crime, was ongoing in the business. Based on other work I'd done with police elsewhere, they probably would have spent some time and money in surveillance in the store to actually get the money shot of the money being taken out of the business by the employee. They didn't want to do that, again, because they were a relative. So they spoke to a friend who spoke to a friend who knew somebody who might be able to help from within the police, but kind of on the down low. And look, long story short, the thing went on for another 6 months. They did confront the employee. The employee didn't deny it. And it turns out the employee had bought a property with the money they'd stolen from the business, but they put the property in the name of an older relative. And so the owners of the business, who'd been stolen from by that stage for probably, I would say, 3 years, had left it so late and had allowed things to become so disconnected that they had no mechanism of getting their money back. Even if they had been successful in getting a conviction against the family member, the money was so far removed and it was sitting in a property in the name of somebody else that the police, who did finally become involved, said it was going to be too hard to get the money back. Now, while this has been all about theft, and I get it sounds like a theft story, this is not really a theft story. The point that I want to make is that if we have an issue in our business, whether it's a retail shop, a software company, whatever, if we as business owners are confronted with an issue that we think needs to be resolved, then resolution can only come about through change. We have to change something in our business. We have to make a decision to take a right turn from the path we're going on to resolve the issue. It's not good enough to allow things, just see how it goes, see what happens over time, see how it evolves. That's not a solution. And even if it involves family members who work for the business, you can't delay dealing with things just because they're a family member. So many people rely on your business, whether it's yourselves or people who work for the business or customers or suppliers. So many people rely on the health and the success of the business that you can't coast. So if something's not working, you have to change. You have to change something. If a product's not working, get rid of it, put something else in. If a supplier isn't working, cut them off, do something else. All of those decisions need to be data-driven decisions based on the evidence in your business. Don't rely on suppliers for your business advice. Don't rely on supplier reps to tell you what's working and not, because their job is to sell. They are paid to sell to you, and, they're not necessarily deliberately dishonest, but their paycheck comes from what they sell to businesses like yours. So their interests aren't necessarily as tightly aligned with the interests of your business. The best way to know what you should be doing in your business is look at your data. Your data is going to tell you what's working, do more of that. It's going to tell you what's not working, do less of that. It's pretty simple, really. And if you have good business data, then you can do things like early discover theft that might be occurring by a staff member, early realize products that aren't working, early realize products that are working, so that you can do more of those things. And I think that's really what I wanted to say today, that even though I started off with a story about theft, and it still frustrates me that they didn't act on it when I first mentioned it to them, the reality is, in our business data, there is really good evidence of steps we could take and should take to improve the situation of our business. I know it's a boring topic. I know it's tiresome. I know it sounds like hard work, and, you're forever struggling to make sure that you've got accurate data in your business. But the reality is that data is gold. That data is going to reduce theft. That data is going to see you sell more items. That data is going to see you make fewer bad decisions. And I think that's what matters. Our job in the software company that I own is to try and help local independent retailers thrive. And thriving is about profitability. And profitability is important because it pays people, it pays suppliers, it pays the landlord. And I think sometimes, because we get tired in the day-to-day of running our shops, sometimes we lose the energy to really focus on those things that we need to focus on. So take a moment, look at how you manage your data, make sure you're managing it as well as you possibly can. Make sure that you are doing everything possible to leverage that data for maximum value. If you're not sure what that means, ask. Say, how can I get more out of my business from this data that I have? What should I do to have better data in my business? What decisions can I make based on the data that I've got available to me today? And I'll just repeat again, if there's something about your business that you're not happy with, if you're not happy with performance, if you're not happy with the returns you're making or not making from your business, then something has to change. Because if you keep doing what you're doing, if you do the same thing over and over again, you will repeat the results you've been achieving. And I reckon a lot of us don't want that. Change is essential. Change is vital. And particularly in the economic situation that we see in this back part of 2023, it's absolutely critical that we make the success every success we possibly can in our businesses. I think there are some wonderful success stories out there waiting to be uncovered by people who want to leverage the data in their business. Thanks for watching.